Good morning, students. Today we are going to start the new chapter is biomolecules. Biomolecules which are being in the unit 3rd, cell biology and biomolecules. So what is biomolecules? In this lesson we are going to discuss in details about the biomolecules. As you know thoroughly about the cell and their function. So already we have learnt about the cell. We can able to understand about what are the chemical substances which are present inside the cell. So various organelles which will be responsible for various physiological function or metabolic activities. But each and every cells which are made up of by certain chemicals. These chemicals may be organic or inorganic chemicals. How these molecules are present, what are the functions, how they are a very important role to do in cell, each and everything we have to understand. So usually, as I said just now, the cell is consist of lot of organic and inorganic chemicals. As far as cell is concerned, more than 70% of this cell is consist of, not only cell, each and every living organisms are made up of more than 70% is made up of by water. It is very important. So more than 70% is made up of by water. The rest of the molecules, rest of the things which are occupied by organic and inorganic chemicals. If you see organic chemicals, these are made up of by carbohydrates, proteins, lipids or fats, vitamins and various types of ions. So ions is nothing but inorganic minerals. So these are all combined together to form about biomolecules. Out of 70%, out of 100%, 70% is occupied by water. Then 15% is occupied by proteins. Then carbohydrate is 3%. Then lipid, fat is just 2%. Then nucleic acid. Nucleic acid means DNA, RNA, deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid. These are having these, they are present in the cell in more quantity. Around 6% is occupied by nucleic acid. So remaining rest of the 4% is ions and minerals. As far as these minerals are concerned, they are doing an important role in living organisms. What are the important roles of minerals we shall see in the last unit. That is in the 5th unit we shall see in detail about what are the minerals. Once again these minerals are further divided into two categories, namely macromolecules and micromolecules, or macroelements and microelements, or these microelements are also called as trace elements. Macroelements means most of the organic compounds or most of the living things or most of the cells which are made up by these elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. So in such a way, these calcium, iron, these are all major elements or macronutrients. The major elements are also called as macronutrients. Then some of the micronutrients are also there, like molybdenum, boron, manganese. So these are all the elements are required for the living things in very less quantity. These are called as microelements. So all these things we are going to study in biomolecules. Out of this, more than 70% is occupied by water. So water is doing an important role in living organisms. All the metabolic activities which have been done with the help of this water only. So water is an important process, an important material or inorganic substances which are present inside the cell. What is most abundant component in the living cell, as we discussed earlier, that is 70%. Life on the earth is individually linked to water. Water makes up to 70% of human cell and up to 95% of plant cell. So these are very important role in, especially in plant cell. Water is a tiny polar molecule and can readily pass through membrane, that is plasma membrane, endoplasmic reticulum, nuclear membrane. All the membrane can able to allow these water molecules. So they pass through the membrane. Two electronegative atoms of oxygen share a hydrogen bond or two water molecules that can be seen through a picture. Look at the picture. This is water molecule. So the two electronegative atoms of oxygen share a hydrogen bond of two water molecules. Thus, they can stick together by cohesion force and result in lattice formation. So this is water. So what is the important role of water? That is properties of water. They have the adhesive and cohesive property. What do you mean by adhesive and cohesive? Cohesive means water molecules react with another water molecule, then they can join together. So this is called as cohesive force. The last point already I discussed, So water molecule can able to leave from one place to other place. Lot of drops of water just join together, This is done by cohesive force. That means the same kinds of water molecules are joined together to form cohesive force. Then what is adhesive force? These water molecules are also can stick with some other molecule like any wood or even wall or even any metal. They can able to pass through them because they can able to contact with these materials as well. So these are called as adhesive force. So there are two forces are acting between the water molecule. One is cohesive force. The cohesive force which is making the water molecule together. The same kinds of, there is a force of attraction between the same kinds of molecules are called as cohesive force. Adhesive force means what do you call it? The force of attraction between two different molecules are called as adhesive force. So both the cohesive as well as adhesive properties are having by this water. So that is why adhesive and cohesive property. And moreover, they are having high latent heat of vaporization. So it requires more amount of temperature to evaporate. So that is called as high latent heat of vaporization. High melting point and boiling point as well. It is very important. Water is a universal solvent. Almost all the materials, all the chemicals which are present all over the world can be dissolved. Only except some non-polar substances. Almost all in the entire world is consists of polar molecules or polar substances. All the polar substances can be dissolved in water. That's why these are called as universal solvent. Water is considered as universal solvent. And the specific heat is also a capacity. So specific heat capacity is also having by water. These are all main important thing about water. So once we can see the overall content of the living molecule, that means percentage of biomolecules in cell. So look at the picture. The picture will be helping us to understand about the content of the cell. So around more than 70% is completely occupied by water. Remaining all these chemicals are present 30%. These 30% is also deviated by proteins are 15%, then smaller molecule 4%, RNA, nucleic acid 6%, then phospholipids, membrane bonded organelles which will be made up of by phospholipids. These are having 2%, DNA 1%, and polysaccharides like carbohydrates 2%. So these are the percentage of biomolecules in every plant cell. Not only plant cell, even animal cells are also same. But plant cells are having more than 95%. It is very important. So this is the important about the water. Now we are going to see another concept is called as primary and secondary metabolites. What do you mean by primary and secondary metabolites? So we should understand about what are metabolites. So if you see in plants and animals, they are doing a lot of metabolic activities. During these metabolic activities, they can able to produce lot of chemicals. These are all the products which will be obtained after the metabolism, which are called as metabolites. So some of the metabolites which can be utilized by the plant by themselves for their growth and development. These products will be called as primary metabolites. Understand one thing? The chemical substances which will be produced by the various types of metabolism in living organisms, they are utilizing for their own growth and development. Such a type of product will be called as primary metabolites. For example, various types of enzymes like protease, lipase, peroxidase, these are the enzymes which will be used for the growth and development of living things or even plants or animals for their various types of metabolic activities like photosynthesis, nitrogen fixation, nitrogen metabolism, respiration. In such a way, various types of reactions or various types of metabolism, they are utilizing various types of enzymes. So these are utilizing for their own purpose. Such a type of material will be called as primary metabolites. Similarly, amino acids. Amino acids like proline, leucine are very much useful for the living things, for their development and various metabolic activities. Various organic acids like acetic acid, lactic acid, these are all very much essential. Then vitamin, various types of vitamins also very much essential for plants for their growth and development like vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C complex and so on. So these are all considered the primary metabolites. Some other chemical substances are also may be formed after the metabolism as a product. These products might not be utilized by the plants for themselves. So the cells, they won't use the chemicals which are produced by the various types of metabolism. These are called as secondary metabolites. These secondary metabolites can be used by any other living organisms other than the own organisms. Like pigments, various types of pigments like carotenoids, anthocyanins, then alkalides, morphine, codeine, coffin. These are all alkalides. Alkalides are not used by plants for growth and development. Like various types of essential oil like lemongrass oil, rose oil. Some of the poisonous chemicals or toxins like abrin, resin, these are also produced by the plant. But they won't be poison for the plant, but these may be poison for some other organisms like human being or even insects or some other even microorganisms. Some of the chemicals like lactins, there is cancanavaline A, various drugs like vinblastin, curcumin. Curcumins are present in the turmeric. So these are all very much important. Then polymeric substances like rubber, gums, cellulose also produced by the plants. These are all considered the secondary metabolites. So basically plant cells can able to produce various kinds of molecules. Various kinds of molecules means some of the molecules it will be utilized for their own process of growth and development like photosynthesis, respiration, protein, lipid metabolism. For these purposes, some of the chemicals are utilized. These are called as primary metabolites. So some of the chemicals which are not directly function for the growth and development for the organisms are called as secondary metabolites. Now we are going to see about organic molecules. So four important major organic molecules are there. These are all called as macromolecules or complex molecules, or these are large and huge mass of assembled molecules. Hence it is called as macromolecules or organic molecules. Most probably we can come across carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acid. These are the major type of organic molecules. Among them, carbohydrates is the most important one. Among various types of organic materials we are going to discuss in detail, like carbohydrates, proteins, lipids or fats, and nucleic acid we are going to study in detail in this class. Among them we are going to discuss about carbohydrates in detail. Basically, carbohydrates are nothing but these are the molecules which are formed by carbon and water. what you call carbon and water. That is generally we can call it CH2O. H2O means water, C means carbon. So these are formed by carbon and water molecule. Previously we made a study about generally carbohydrates are made up by most three important elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. We used to say. Nowadays, recent definition reveals that carbohydrates are nothing but these are the chemical substances which are made by carbon and water molecule. As many number of carbon and water molecules which are making various kinds of carbohydrates like CH2O whole N. The N indicates as many number of these molecules are formed. So we can consider that CH2O is a monomer. So as many number of chains of monomers are joined together to form polymers. These polymers make various kinds of carbohydrates. So basically carbohydrates are basically divided into two classifications. One of the classification is depends upon the functional group of carbohydrates. That means some of the carbohydrates are which are made up by aldoses. Some of the carbohydrates are which are made up by ketoses. So if the carbohydrates which are having aldoses as a functional unit, they are called as aldehyde. I mean, if the carbohydrates which are using aldehydes as a functional group, then they are called as aldoses. On the other hand, if the carbohydrates are using ketones as a functional group, then they are called as ketoses. So in such a way, on the basis of functional group, carbohydrates are broadly divided into two categories, namely aldoses and ketoses. Then, on the basis of number of sugar unit, one sugar unit is called as monomer, that is CH2O. So this as many n number of possible on the basis of it, they are classified into further. That means if a carbohydrate is consist of only one sugar molecule, then this will be called as monosaccharides. What do you call? Monosaccharides. So these are further divided into number of carbon atoms. Suppose if they are having 3 carbon atoms, they will be called as trioses. If they are having 4 carbon atoms, they are called as tetroses. In such a way, depends upon number of carbon atoms, they can be called various kinds like triose, tetros, pentos, hexos. In such a way, we can able to say. So triose means 3 carbon atom. For example, glyceraldehydes, they are having 3 carbon atoms. If it is having 4 carbon atoms, they are called as tetroses like erythrose. If it is having 5 carbon atoms, they are called as pentoses like ribose. If it is having 6 carbon atoms, they will be called as hexoses like glucose. So in such a way, how many number of carbon atoms are present in the monosaccharides, they will be called as various forms like trioses, tetroses, pentoses, hexoses, heptoses, octoses and so on. So in such a way, various kinds of simple sugars which are having inside the carbohydrate will be called as monosaccharides. So if the carbohydrates are having 2 to 10 sugar units like saccharides, they will be called as oligosaccharides. Then if the carbohydrates are having more than 10 sugar units or 10 saccharides units, then they are called as polysaccharides. Then the oligosaccharides are further divided into various categories like how many number of sugar units are present. If it is having 2 sugar units, they will be called as disaccharides. If they are having 3 sugar units, they will be called as trisaccharides. If it is having 4 sugar units or 4 saccharides, they will be called as stachyos or tetrasaccharides. If it is having 5 units and so on. If it is having disaccharides, trisaccharides, tetrasaccharides, pentasaccharides, hexasaccharides and heptasaccharides and so on. In such a way, various oligosaccharides are classified. Then if you consider about if the carbohydrates consist of more number of saccharides or more number of sugar units like more than 10 sugar units, they will be called as polysaccharides. Among the polysaccharides, these are further divided into two different categories like homopolysaccharides, heteropolysaccharides. If it is having same kind sub-sugar units, they will be called as homopolysaccharides. If they are having different types of sugar units, they will be called as polysaccharides. Lot of example we can able to say about homopolysaccharides like starch, glycogen, cellulose, chitin and insulin will be considered as homopolysaccharides. If you see bacterial cell wall which are made up by peptidoglycan, similarly hyaluronic acid, then cardiatin sulfates, keratin sulfates, agar, these are all heteropolysaccharides. So these are the classification of carbohydrates in details. Now we can see one by one. First of all, we shall go through monosaccharides. So monosaccharides are relatively small molecules consisting a single sugar unit. That means glucose is a very good example for monosaccharides. Glucose has chemical formula C6H12O6. That means it is hexose because they are having 6 carbon atom, C6H12O6. So as it is having 6 carbon atom, they are called as hexose molecule. Then all monosaccharides contain one or two functional group. Either it is having aldehyde or it may be having ketones. So if it is having aldehydes, they are called as aldoses. If they are having ketones, they are called as ketoses. So even though these monosaccharides are further divided into aldoses and ketoses. Now we are going to discuss about second category is called disaccharides. So disaccharides are formed when two monosaccharides are joined together. So these are called as disaccharides. So oligosaccharides are further divided into number of sugar units. On the basis of number of sugar units, they will be called as disaccharides, trisaccharides, tetrasaccharides, pentasaccharides. Among them, we are going to see about disaccharides. So it is one example from oligosaccharides. So disaccharides are formed when two monosaccharides are joined together. Tri means 3 monosaccharides are joined together. Tetra means 4 monosaccharides are joined together. Then they can able to produce oligosaccharides. Among disaccharides like maltose, lactose, sucrose, which will be formed by 2 monosaccharides are joined together to form disaccharides. Sucrose is very good example. Sucrose formed from molecules like glucose and fructose, alpha glucose and a molecule like fructose. So this is actually a condensation reaction. When if a alpha glucose is react with fructose to form sucrose. So this is called condensation reaction, releasing water molecule. So the bond formed between glucose and fructose molecule by removing of water is called as glycosidic bond. It is very important. In 2 mark question they might be asked, what is glycosidic bond? The bond formed between glucose and fructose molecule by removal of water. By removal of water is called as glycosidic bond. This is a very good example for strong covalent bond. In the reverse process, a disaccharide is digested to a component of monosaccharide in a hydrolysis reaction. That means if a disaccharide is hydrolyzed, they can able to produce 2 important chemicals called alpha glucose and fructose. So this is called as hydrolysis process. This reaction involves addition of water. How the glycosidic bond is removal of water. Similarly, this is adding of water, that is hydro molecule splitting lysis of the glycosidic bond. So these are all very good example for it. Now we are going to see about polysaccharides. What is polysaccharides? More than 10 sugar units or more than 10 saccharides are joined together, they can able to form polysaccharide. So these are made up by even hundreds of monosaccharides units. So polysaccharides are also called as glycans. A long chain of branched or unbranched monosaccharides are held together by glycosidic bond, as I said just now. If there is any two sugar units are joined together, if it is removing a water molecule, then this is called as glycosidic bond. So due to glycosidic bond, this polysaccharide is formed. Polysaccharide is an example of a giant molecule, a macromolecule, and consisting only one type of monomer. Polysaccharides are insoluble in water. They won't be dissolved in water. And these produce glycosidic bond, and it is strong bond. And moreover, they are sweetless. Cellulose is very good example. Lot of example we can say: starch, glycogen, cellulose, chitin, insulin, peptidoglycan. These are all very good example for polysaccharides. Depending upon the functions of polysaccharide, there are two types, namely storage polysaccharides and structural polysaccharides. Storage polysaccharide means these polysaccharides which can be stored as food. So food materials will be stored inside the plant material in the form of these chemical polysaccharides. They are called as storage polysaccharides. Some of the polysaccharides are very much essential for building blocks. That means the structural body will be manufactured by these types of polysaccharides, which are called as structural polysaccharides. One by one we can see. Among them, we are going to discuss in details with starch. What is starch? How they can able to form. So starch is also a complex polysaccharide. So starch is a storage polysaccharide made up of repeated units of amylose and amylopectin. So starch are made up of by amylose and amylopectin. Starch grains are made up of successive layer of amylose and amylopectin. So both combined together, both amylase as well as amylopectin. Usually amylose is a linear molecule. We can see in a structure. Look at the picture. In this picture we can able to see that this is amylose. It is a long unbranched chain, unbranched linear formation of molecule. Amylopectins are branched chain. So both are combined together. These are arranged one over the other to form starch. So both amylose as well as amylopectin, which will be helping us to make a starch molecule. So amylase is a linear unbranched polymer which make about 80% of starch. So 80% of starch is made up of by amylose. Amylose is a long chain linear unbranched polymer. On the other hand, amylopectin is a polymer with some 1 to 6 linkage is also having in the form of branches that gives it a branch structure. So this is amylopectin. So both amylose as well as amylopectins are joined together to form, which is forming number of layers, which is making the starch. Then how do we test the starch? It is very easy to identify the starch very easily because starch is colorless substance or white color or colorless, usually colorless. If you add iodine, that is potassium iodide, if you add, a dark color, dark blue color will be formed. That is also called as blue black color. So it is very easy to identify. Even if you add a potassium iodide solution to our food, rice, immediately it turns to dark blue color. That is called blue black color. Look at the picture. So in this picture is showing that, so this is potassium iodide. In this bottle, potassium iodide is there. This is potato tuber. If you cut the potato tuber, inside the potato tuber which are made up of carbohydrates, then if you add a small drop, immediately it turns into blue black color. So it depends upon the concentration. So if it is having more amount of carbohydrate, starch is present, immediately it is having dark blue color. Then if you dissolve with more amount of water or which is having less amount of starch, these are having light blue color. So if it is having still less concentration of starch, which is showing pink color. So these are helping us to identify how much amount of starch is present in the substances with the help of this test. This test is called starch test. How the starch is available inside the chemical or plant material, we can able to identify with the help of this starch test. So this will be helping us to identify how much amount of starch is present in the material. Next we are going to see another type of storage carbohydrate is called as glycogen. Starch is storage food carbohydrate for plants, but on the other hand glycogen is storage polysaccharides or storage carbohydrate for animals. So glycogen is also called as a storage polysaccharide, otherwise called as animal starch. How starch is a plant material or storage polysaccharides of plants, similarly glycogen will be called as animal starch. It is the only carbohydrate stored in animals and fungi as well. So if you see in animals as well as in fungi, only carbohydrate, that is storage carbohydrate is nothing but glycogen. Like amylopectin, glycogen is a polymer of glucose with alpha 1 to 6 carbon atom linked branches. Glycogen is seen in liver cells, skeletal muscle fiber, and throughout the human body except brain. So except brain, remaining all the body parts of human being which are made up of a glycogen. Next we are going to see about cellulose. So all the plant material, the cell wall is made up of a cellulose. Cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin, suberin, lignin, all these chemicals which are present. Among them, cellulose is a very complex material or more quantity of cellulose which are present in the cell wall. So this cellulose is very complex polysaccharides and moreover it is very difficult to digest for human being. That is why even the cattle can able to feed these cellulose very easily and moreover which can able to digest easily because of certain bacteria which are present in the gut of cattle or animals. They can be able to decompose the cellulose into simple molecule with the help of an enzyme called cellulase. So cellulase enzymes which will be produced by certain bacteria which are present inside the gut of animals, especially ruminant animals. Ruminant animals means cattle like cow, buffalo, goat, sheep. These all comes under ruminant. So these ruminant are having a specialized nature. Almost all herbivores are having these mechanisms of rumination. So which can able to decompose the cellulose with the help of enzyme called cellulase, which will be secreted by certain bacteria. But on the other hand, human beings do not have such a type of cellulase enzyme inside the human digestive system. That is why they are unable to digest the cellulose inside the stomach. But this will be increasing the amount of food and moreover this will be having a easy movement from the esophagus or stomach or so on. So digestive system in the digestive system the cellulose material will be helping to move very smoothly. So in such a way these are also doing very important role in digestive system of human being as well. Okay, come to the point. What is cellulose? Cellulose is a structural polysaccharides made up of thousands of glucose units. Not one or two or hundreds. Thousands of glucose units. In this case, which is consist of beta glucose units are held together by 1 to 4 glycosidic linkage. What is glycosidic linkage? When two monomers are joined together, if it is removing water molecule, they are called as glycosidic bond. Such a type of glycosidic linkage will be formed in cellulose, forming a long unbranched chains. So cellulose, we can able to see in the cellulose diagram as well. Look at the picture. This picture will be helping you to understand about the cellulose structure. So cellulose fibers are straight and uncoiled. It has many industrial uses which include cellulose fiber in cotton. So in cotton industry, These are very much essential, which are made up by completely cellulose. Similarly, nitrocellulose for explosives. Explosives are made up by nitrocellulose. These are also made up by cellulose. Cellulose acetate for fiber of multiple uses, and cellophane type for packing material. All these are made up by cellulose. So the cellulose is made up by cellulose fiber. Inside we can see about microfibrils. These microfibers are nothing but chains of cellulose molecule. So this will be, we can able to understand from this picture. So a lot of chains of cellulose molecule joined together to form microfibrils. These microfibrils are covered by cellulose fiber. These are all, the plant cell wall is completely made up by cellulose. So cellulose molecule is also very much essential for the formation of plant cell, especially cell wall. Then we are going to see about another carbohydrate is called as chitin. So chitin is also another important complex carbohydrate. So if you see almost all the fungi cell wall which are made up by chitin. So chitin is also another important polysaccharides. So chitin is a homopolysaccharide. That means all the polysaccharides are similar in function. Appearance is also similar. So these are called as homopolysaccharides. And added to form mucopolysaccharides. The basic units is a nitrogen containing glucose. Derivative is known as N-acetylglucosamine. So which are formed from nitrogen containing glucose. They are called as N-acetylglucosamine. It forms the exoskeleton of insects. If you see certain types of insects like pods, the upper surface is completely very hard shell. Even the water is not penetrated through that. So these are completely made up by chitin. And other arthropods, almost all the insects, their body wall, even if you see cockroaches, the cockroach's body wall is completely made up by chitin. So these are called as exoskeleton. The skeleton which are present on the outer surface are called as exoskeleton. Usually skeletons are present inside the body. As you know very well, bones are present inside the body are called as skeleton. But the insects are having skeleton outside the body. That is why these are called as exoskeleton. These actually it is not looking like skeleton, but there is a specialized chemical substances which are bounding around the insects, which are called as exoskeleton, which are made up by chitins. So chitin is very important role in formation of various insects body or exoskeleton, which will be formed by insect and other arthropods. It is also present in cell walls of fungi as well. So the fungi cell wall is completely made up by chitins. So these are all comes under polysaccharides. Now we are going to conduct a small test. All these tests will be very much useful for practical purposes. We are going to do the practicals to how do we determine the monosaccharides or polysaccharides, or presence of starch, or presence of proteins, or presence of lipids. These are all we are going to study in practical purpose. So go through very carefully. Now we are going to test for reducing sugar. What is reducing sugar? Both aldoses and ketoses are present in the polysaccharides. So aldoses and ketoses are reducing sugar. This means that when heated with an alkaline solution of copper 2 sulfate, a blue color solution is called as barytic solution. If you add any chemical substances which is having copper sulfate, which will be called as barytic solution. So barytic solution is nothing but copper sulfate, copper 2 sulfate. The copper sulfate, if you add with the sugar solution, then what happens? They can break down the aldehydes and ketone groups. They can be reduced as Cu2 plus ion into Cu plus ion. This copper is having 2 positive ion. Then this will be reduced to Cu plus ion. So Cu2 plus ion into Cu plus ion. So they can be reduced one of the ion. And which will be forming like a dark red, brick red color precipitate will be formed. These chemicals are nothing but copper oxide. That means copper sulfate is converted into copper oxide. Here the copper copper 2 sulfate which are having Cu2 plus ion. The copper oxide, copper 1 oxide is nothing but they are having copper plus 1. That means it is copper 2 plus 2, copper 1 is reduced to copper 1. This is called as reducing substances or reducing sugar. So the Benedict solution, if you add with the carbohydrate or sugar, what happens? They can be converted into copper oxide. In this process, aldehydes or ketone groups is oxidized to carboxylic group. Carboxylic group means COOH bond or COOH group will be called as carboxylic acid group. So this reaction is used to test the reducing sugar is known as Benedict test. So we are going to study about the Benedict test in practical as well. So these are called as, if you are using Benedict solution, what is Benedict solution? Copper 2 sulfate solution is called as Benedict solution. If you add copper 2 sulfate, that will be converted into copper 1 oxide. So here the reducing process takes place. Due to this reducing process, the copper oxide is become red in color, dark red in color. That is called bricks red color will be formed after the reducing Cu2 plus 2 Cu plus. The result of Benedict test depends upon the concentration of sugar. If there is no reducing sugar, it remains blue because usually the Benedict solution is blue in color. So if the substance do not have any sugar, then the substance remain blue color. They will not be changed into red color. But if you gradually increasing, that can be seen with the help of a picture. Look at the picture. This will be help you to understand about various concentration. So in the first test tube, there is no sugar. That is why if you add Benedict solution means copper 2 sulfate, it has become blue in color. A small amount of tracing amount of sugar is present, then it has become greenish yellow color will be formed. Suppose if it is having moderate amount of sugar solution, that means greater than this test tube. That means more amount of sugar is present in this category, then it is having orange precipitate will be formed. Suppose if it is having large amount of reduced sugar in the test tube, in the solution, if you add the Benedict solution like copper sulfate, immediately it turns into brick red precipitation will be formed. So this will be indicating that the solution is consist of sugar, reducing sugar. So the reducing sugar test can be studied with the help of this experiment. This is called test for reducing sugar. So sucrose is not reducing sugar. The greater the concentration of reducing sugar, the more is a precipitate formed and the greater is in the color, as we said in this experiment. So these are about sugar. Now we are going to see about various types of other polysaccharides as well. We can go through, there is a tabular column will be there. This tabular column will be helping us to understand about what are some other carbohydrates are available. Later I shall show you. Now we shall enter into the another group of substance, that is lipids. We shall see lipids in the next class.